We need to see a cease. We need to see a humanitarian pause so we can flow. We need to see ceasing of the levels of violence that we're seeing. We need to see civilians protected. We need to see a humanitarian pause to get aid in, to get Canadians out, to get vulnerable people out, to get hostages released. These are the things that the people around the world are looking for.
This is my video update from Athens, Greece on this Saturday evening, November the 4th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the NBC article, which claims that the US and the EU, they are pressing Ukraine to negotiate with Russia. Or maybe pressing is not the correct word. The article says that approaching Ukraine for negotiations with Russia is a delicate matter. It's very delicate, like a flower, very, very delicate. And the article from NBC News, the reports from NBC News, of course, always citing those famous anonymous officials. They claim that during a meeting, one of these NATO globalist collective West events a couple of weeks ago, that EU and US officials, they floated the idea of negotiations to Ukrainian officials. And the reasons that negotiations are being talked about are because of the war in Israel and Gaza. So there are US officials and EU officials who are very worried that Project Ukraine is not going to get the attention, the money, and the ammunition that it has been getting in the past. Everything is going to be prioritized towards Israel. And another reason for the possible negotiations, or at least bringing up the topic, the delicate, it's a very delicate topic of negotiations with the Elensky regime, is because the war is at a stalemate. These US and EU officials, they told NBC News that the conflict in Ukraine is now just all about each side trying to gain inches of territory. No side is making any significant progress with regards to territory, and it is effectively a stalemate. Even Steven, it's a stalemate, right? That's what they're saying. So, that's another reason for perhaps opening up negotiations with Russia. And the final reason for the collective West bringing up the negotiation idea to the Zelensky regime is because the Biden White House, Joe Bidenopoulos, Greece's favorite son, he is very concerned that Ukraine is running out of men. Ukraine is running out of men, and this is concerning for Joe Bidenopoulos. So let me read you a little bit from this NBC News report, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Remember, Lukashenko said this a week ago. He said that Ukraine is out of soldiers, and even if the collective West were to send all the weapons that they have to Ukraine, there are no soldiers to actually use them. That's what Lukashenko said about a week and a half ago. And actually, Time magazine, they confirmed what Lukashenko said in the article that they wrote up on Elensky a couple of days ago. They said that Ukraine is running out of soldiers, and no matter how many weapons they send to the Zelensky regime, there are just no men left to use those weapons. And so now Biden, according to NBC News, now Bidenopoulos is also very concerned about the dwindling manpower in Ukraine. So let me read you a bit from this article. Some U.S. military officials have privately begun using the term stalemate to describe the current battle in Ukraine, with some saying it may come down to which side can maintain a military force the longest. Neither side is making large strides on the battlefield, which some U.S. officials now describe as a war of inches. Officials also have privately said Ukraine likely only has until the end of the year or shortly thereafter before more urgent discussions about peace negotiations should begin. U.S. officials have shared their views on such a timeline with European allies, officials said. Questions about manpower now. President Joe Biden has been intensely focused on Ukraine's depleting military forces, according to two people familiar with the matter. Manpower is at the top of the administration's concerns right now, one said. The U.S. and its allies can provide Ukraine with weaponry, this person said. But if they don't have competent forces to use them, it doesn't do a lot of good. And then towards the end of this article from NBC News, it says that administration officials expect Ukraine to want more time to fight on the battlefield, particularly with new, heavier equipment. But there's a growing sense that it's too late and it's time to do a deal, the former senior administration official said. It is not certain that Ukraine would mount another spring offensive. Another super duper spring offensive? Really? Really? Is that what we're talking about? Another spring offensive? Isn't one massive failure, catastrophic spring offensive enough? But yeah, no manpower. Even Bidenopoulos is concerned. Even the president of the United States is very concerned about the lack of manpower for Ukraine. Person power for the Elensky regime. So Danilov, the number 2 intel guy, next to Budanov, to the AI android robot known as Budanov, he said in an interview with Ukraine media that every single Ukrainian should serve in the military, should prepare to serve in the armed forces. Every single Ukrainian, he said, should be prepared to go to battle. This is according to the number 2 intel guy, Mr. Danilov. In the same interview, he also called for the banning of Telegram as well. He said that Telegram is a weapon that's being used against Ukraine. But Orban, he's been saying for a while now that Project Ukraine is lost, it's over. He made a statement about 2 weeks ago, and he said that Ukraine has lost. I think this was the first time that we actually had an EU official, a collective West leader, president, prime minister, actually come out and say Ukraine lost the conflict. It's over. Russia will not lose. There will be no regime change. Ukraine has lost. Why should we give them more money and more weapons? That's pretty much what Orban said about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And the other day, at an event in Kazakhstan, Orban said pretty much the same thing. He said that, speaking about the EU, they think that Ukraine will win and Russia will lose, after which the leadership in Russia will change and they will negotiate with the new leadership of Russia. This is a failed plan. It is very ambitious, but it will not work. That was the plan. That was the plan that the collective West had going into the conflict in Ukraine. Regime change, new government in Moscow, and everything would be A-OK. That was what these knuckleheads in Brussels and in DC actually thought was going to happen. They thought they were going to throw all of these sanctions towards Russia, and everything would collapse. The Russian economy is doing better than ever. I think Putin the other day said that the Russian economy is going to achieve 3% growth. The economy is doing so well that it's overheating. They don't have enough people for the demand in jobs. The problem that Russia has now is that there's so much demand in the labor market. There's so many jobs that are available that they don't have people. So I mean that's actually the problem that Russia has at the moment. But Newsweek they put out an article with the title "Ukraine Should Cede Territory to Russia, Americans Increasingly Believe." And so this is a Gallup poll. I think it was a Gallup poll that was conducted. And it basically said that like 6 months ago, 66 or 64% of Americans were dead set against allowing Russia to take territory in Ukraine, for Ukraine to cede territory. That was the poll like 6 or 9 months ago. And they just did another poll, and that number has dropped by like 12 or 14 points. And now it's at like 54 or 52% of Americans are saying that Ukraine should not cede territory to Russia. And my suspicion is that because this is a Gallup poll, I imagine it's rigged a bit in favor, probably a lot in favor of the Biden White House and Project Ukraine. So my guess would be that you actually have a majority of Americans who would just like to see this war wind down and would just like Ukraine to accept the reality on the ground. And Reuters actually reported the other day that the White House is sending less and less military packages, money and weapons to Ukraine because of the uncertainty of what's happening in Congress. So basically what the Biden White House is doing now, until it gets its 61 billion package approved by the House and Senate, what the Biden White House is doing is that they are rationing the weapons and the money that they give to Ukraine because of just the general uncertainty. So their goal is to just keep the military, keep its head above water, keep it fighting for as long as they can until the funding issue gets resolved. So that's what Reuters was reporting the other day. The Biden White House, they said, is trying to stretch out. That's the words that they use, trying to stretch out its support over Ukraine. And the article also said that the Biden White House, they believe that this conflict has reached a stalemate. And so it's going to be about who can last longer. That's the belief coming from Bidenopolis. Who's going to be able to outlast the other side longer? I think they're misreading the situation in a big way. But what do I know? What do I know? I think they're really misreading this in a big way. But that's how they're viewing Project Ukraine going forward. And Elensky, he may be making a trip to Tel Aviv. Israeli Channel 12 is reporting that negotiations between Elensky and Netanyahu, the two administrations, is at an advanced stage for Elensky to travel to Tel Aviv. And the Times of Israel is saying that a visit by Elensky, and I quote, would indicate something of a unified front of Israel, Ukraine, Europe, and the US against Russia, Iran axis. That is what the Times of Israel is saying. Elensky's photograph with Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Herzog would send a message of the enlightened world under attack, standing against the less enlightened world attacking. The jungle versus the garden. The less enlightened world facing off against the enlightened world. The US, Ukraine, and Israel versus the Russia-Iran axis. I really, really don't like the way they are framing this. I'm getting like World War III, World War I, World War II, and possible World War III vibes with the way that they're framing this trip of Elensky to Israel to meet with Netanyahu. So look, what does Netanyahu gain from this, from a trip from Elensky? Absolutely nothing. I don't understand why Netanyahu would agree to this. Why would you want to be pictured with a loser like Elensky? And he is a loser now in front of the entire world. He's been categorized even by Time magazine as a loser, a delusional, messianic, crazy. That's basically what Time magazine said about Elensky. No one believes him. No one listens to him. His generals don't take his orders. Elensky's administration think he's delusional and nuts. This is how Time magazine portrayed Elensky. So if you're Netanyahu, why do you want to be photographed with the losing side? Why do you want to be photographed with the biggest loser right now on planet Earth, which is Elensky? I mean, look at the photo that NBC News used in their article of Elensky. It's that photo of Elensky, like, just, it's the face of someone who's reaching the end, right? So, I mean, why? Why would you want to agree to this? The only reason I can think of is that the neocons are putting Netanyahu up to this. That's the only reason I can think. The neocons are calling in a favor, and they're telling Netanyahu, green light, a visit from Elensky. We need to get this 61 billion approved, and so connecting Ukraine to Israel is going to convince the Republicans to approve the 61 billion to Ukraine. The minute the new House Speaker Mike Johnson sees a photograph of Elensky and Netanyahu, Mike Johnson is going to just say, okay, well, if he's meeting it with Netanyahu, if he traveled to Israel, well, I'll approve the 61 billion. That's probably what the neocons are thinking. So I'm sure they told Netanyahu, look, you want to keep our support? You want us to continue to back you, even though there are factions in the Biden White House that want to see you go? Well, just take a meeting with Zelensky and let's get the 61 billion approved so we can give that money to the military-industrial complex so that the grift can continue and so that everyone in Project Ukraine can continue to enrich themselves for a little bit longer. And of course, so that Ukraine can continue to fight Russia for a little bit longer. So I think that's why Netanyahu has agreed to, it looks like that's why he is agreeing to meet with Elensky. It's not 100% confirmed that Elensky's going to be traveling to Israel, but the media in Israel is saying that everything is at an advanced stage. Now, what does Zelensky gain from this? Well, he gains a lot, actually. He packages Ukraine and Israel together. So this, in his mind, and he's probably right, this photo opportunity with Netanyahu will probably convince Republicans, quite a few Republicans, to green light the 60 billion or even less, 50 billion, 40 billion in money to Ukraine. So he accomplishes that. He gets Ukraine back in the media. No one's really talking about the conflict in Ukraine. So Elensky going to Israel is going to give him some media attention, which Elensky, for Elensky, that's like food and water to have the media attention. So, he accomplishes quite a lot, but he also hurts himself. He also hurts Ukraine from the standpoint that the global South is going to look at the images of Elensky and Netanyahu, and they're going to turn against Ukraine in a big way. Whatever countries may have still been sympathetic towards Ukraine or towards Zelensky, whatever few countries They're not. I don't think they're gonna like the photo op, the photos of Elensky and Netanyahu. So Zelensky probably doesn't care that much about the global South anymore. He's probably given up on trying to win the support of the global South, and so he's probably saying, I don't have much left. I don't have much left, and right now, what I need is media attention, and I need more money. I need to get more money, and so, he's gonna go to Israel, and he's trying to go to Israel and package Ukraine alongside Israel, and of course the whole, the allies versus the axis of evil, that whole thing, the U.S., Israel, and Ukraine versus Russia and Iran. Try to connect Russia and Iran. The Wall Street Journal had an article the other day, and they said that Wagner is going to send air defense systems. I think they said to Hamas, either to Hamas or Hezbollah. But you can see how the neocons behind the scenes are probably creating the narrative that Russia and Iran are this axis that's fighting a war against the forces of light. I think that's a narrative that they're still working on. And so you saw the Wall Street Journal talk about how Wagner is going to send air defense systems to the Middle East. I forgot if it was to Hamas or Hezbollah, but So for Elensky, I think going to Israel is a net positive for him. If it takes him a step closer to getting money and weapons, then it's a net positive. And plus, it takes some of the pressure that he's probably feeling from the Banderites, because I imagine the Banderites in the West, they read the Time magazine article and they were probably like, Elensky, your time is up. You have to go. And so this probably will take some of the pressure off from the NAZI Banderites who after reading that Time magazine article, they're knives out. They were probably like, okay, it's time for Elensky to be removed. So net positive if he can get this trip to Israel. So staying on Israel, on the war in Israel and in Gaza, we had this speech from the Hezbollah leader Nasrallah, and a lot of people were speculating as to what was going to be announced by the leader of Hezbollah. Was he going to declare a war? Was Hezbollah going to open up a second front in this war from Lebanon? And what we got from Nasrallah was no declaration of war, and basically we got a wait and see approach, which is I think it's a good thing from the perspective that this is not going to widen out to a bigger regional war and a possible World War III if Hezbollah were to actually get involved in this war. Even though a lot of people in Gaza were very upset at the announcement from Nasrallah, because they were hoping that Hezbollah would enter the war and perhaps provide some relief to the people in Gaza. The fact that he said that Hezbollah is not going to be entering into this conflict means that for the time being, the war is not gonna widen out. And if Hezbollah was to get involved, then that would mean Lebanon would be pulled into this war, and that would mean that Iran would be pulled into this war, and then we would be marching quickly towards World War III. So he took a very pragmatic, I think, approach in his speech. Yes, he warned the U.S., he warned Israel. He put down his red line, which is don't attack Lebanon. He said that there needs to be a ceasefire in Gaza. He said he's certain that the Palestinians will win. I mean, he said all the things that I think people were expecting him to say, but no declaration of war. And Hezbollah is not going to get involved in this conflict. He did say that Hezbollah does occupy like about a third of the Israeli Defense Forces is attention because of their presence in Lebanon and various skirmishes that are happening on the border between Lebanon and Israel. He says that has served as a way to keep the IDF forces, some of the IDF forces, focused on the north. But in general, there's going to be no Hezbollah involvement in this conflict for now. But he kept all the doors open. I mean, he was very very ambiguous in a lot of his statements. He didn't really commit to anything. Here's a tweet from Big Search. The fact that nobody can agree on what Nasrallah was trying to say supports my reading. He's maintaining strategic ambiguity and keeping his options open. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Yeah, I agree with that assessment 100%. He didn't commit to anything. And there were a lot of analysts who read into his speech, and they thought maybe this is a call to arms from Hezbollah. Yeah, he didn't declare war. Maybe this is a call to arms. There were other analysts who said this speech was a big nothing burger, but I think it was kind of in the middle. And he kept the position of just, we're here, we're watching what's going on, we're going to support the Palestinians and Hamas as best we can, but for now we're not going to do anything more. But they keep every option open. That was pretty much his speech, to be quite honest. So let's do a clown world and let's wrap this video up. By the way, Tucker Carlson, he tweeted that he is at Belmarsh prison, where Julian Assange is. So it looks like Tucker Carlson is preparing to interview Assange. So I think that's pretty big news. So clown world time, and this one's a good one. The Croatian foreign minister, there was a foreign minister's event that took place. I don't know what the event was about, but the Croatian foreign minister, he was photographed kissing Annalena 360 on the cheek, or Annalena 560, or Annalena 720i. He kissed her on the cheek, and Annalena was like, "What are you doing, man?" And this has gone viral. This image has gone viral, and from what I understand, he's in big trouble now. The Croatian foreign minister for kissing Annalena Baerbock. There's actually an explanation for this, to be fair. From what they're telling us, the Croatian foreign minister was late to the group photograph, to the event and the group photograph. And so he arrived late and he greeted everybody and he kissed Annalena, to greet her. And Annalena wasn't expecting it, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And that's the explanation. He wasn't trying to come on to her or flirt with her. He was just late to the party, late to the event, and yeah, he decided to kiss Annalena on the cheek right at the moment that the group photo was about to be taken. So yeah. Annalena was moving away from the Croatian foreign minister. He's in trouble, though, from what I understand. He's in trouble. Oh, boy. Let's see here. Cameras caught Grilic Radman, 65, grabbing Baerbock, 42, by the hand and then apparently trying to kiss her, with the German minister moving away and avoiding his lips. German tabloid Bild labeled the episode a smooch attack on Baerbock by her Croatian colleague. According to the outlet, She turned away at lightning speed in order not to be kissed. Bild claimed that the embarrassing situation occurred because Relik Radman had been late for the photo, arriving after all the other ministers had already exchanged kisses. Members of Baerbock's team told the paper that what happened was just a clumsy attempt to greet each other quickly. Yeah. If it was Elensky, Baerbock would have leaned into that kiss. You know it. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. 20% off. Use the code TheDuran20. Right here is the Embassy of the Republic of Ireland. The Embassy of Sweden, I believe, is here as well. And I also think the Embassy of the Netherlands is here, all in this building right here. All right, that's the video. Take care.